In this lesson, I'm going to show you some practice exercises which can really help you master the fretboard and become a much better improviser. So stay tuned. Hi there, James here, and welcome to the next lesson in my guitar soloing school series here on YouTube, where we're looking at ideas and concepts to help you become better at jamming and become a better improviser on guitar. Now, we've looked at some super important ideas so far. We've looked at things like call and response phrasing, using repetition, leaving space, making your playing really lock in and groove with the tracks that you're playing along with. So if you haven't seen those earlier lessons, you'll find links to them under this video. Do check them out. There's some really cool stuff there which can make a big difference to your improvisation skills. Now, today's session, we're going to take a step back from some of these other ideas, and I want to show you some exercises which I found really useful in my playing career for getting me to really know my fretboard much better, so that I'm not getting lost and playing wrong notes, stumbling around trying to keep my place, because I'm sure if you've experienced that, it's really hard to play anything that makes much musical sense if you don't really know where you are. So I think the exercises I'm going to show you today are going to be a lot of fun to play around with, but they're also going to help you out a lot with your playing. This video is brought to you by my Noble Music Theory for Guitarists book. This is the quickest and easiest way for any player to nail the essential music theory that all guitar players need to know. Also check out my Blues Soloing for Guitar book series, featuring 10 authentic blues solos complete with analysis, breakdowns, covering all the techniques and knowledge you need to play great sounding blues. They also include backing tracks and video lessons. You can find links to all these books in the description below this video. Most of the time when we're playing a guitar solo, we're using a scale to come up with our licks and melodic ideas. But the thing is, on guitar, it's really easy to learn a bunch of scale patterns, just kind of go up and down them and then kind of wonder why it doesn't sound like much. What we really need to do is get really deep into that scale pattern and really learn to wrench out the music that's hiding in there, because there's all these cool ideas in there. We've just got to learn to bring them out. And these exercises I'm going to show you today are going to help you to do that. You're going to go beyond just playing the right notes and really start to discover cool musical ideas which are just waiting inside these scale shapes to be found. Now, I want you to remember one thing as you go through these exercises. You can apply these to any scale or any arpeggio in the future, okay? So even if you're super familiar with the scales that I'm going to be using, that's fine. Take these and use them to explore other scales, okay? You can use them to explore anything. It's the concepts and the approaches that I really want to get across to you in this lesson, not necessarily making you better at using the actual scale pattern that I'm using in my demonstrations, okay? So remember that you can use these for any scale. They're really powerful exercises. With that, let's get started by looking at our first exercise. This first exercise is one of my favourites. I call it pocket soloing. It's really great for starting to really get deep into a scale pattern and really learn how to use it effectively. The basic idea is we take our scale pattern and we break it up into little pockets, and we just play in those little pockets for a little while. And if you do this enough, you start to find all sorts of ideas within every area of the scale pattern which you never even knew were there before, instead of just resorting to your favourite licks and everything or going up and down the pattern. So for this, I'm just going to use a G minor pentatonic scale shape 1 down at the 3rd fret here. And I could use any scale pattern for this. I'm choosing this one because chances are you know this one already, so you can relate to what I'm showing you in this lesson. But remember, you can take this and apply it to any scale pattern, okay? This is just for the purposes of demonstration. So I'm going to take my first pocket. Let's say it was the G string and the B string. And the idea is I put on my jam track and I improvise only using those two strings. Now, after a while, you may start to find you're playing the same ideas and it's starting to be a bit repetitive, and maybe you feel like you've exhausted everything in that pocket that you can do. That's the point at which you just need to keep on going, because you'll force yourself to be a bit more inventive and play things you maybe haven't thought of playing before. So just keep jamming around in that little pocket. I'm going to try that now on the G and B string over 12 bar blues and G, and let's see what happens. Now I had to work there a little bit to force myself to find ideas which were going to work melodically over the chords without playing my favourite turnaround licks or, all this kind of stuff. So it kind of pushes us out of our comfort zone and makes us have to think a little bit harder and find new stuff. And really, I think getting better at improvisation is largely about experimenting and exploring the possibilities and making them a part of your guitar style. And this can really help you to do that. Now, I might also take the top 2 strings and play around with those 2. Let's see what happens when I do that. So there again, I'm having to work a bit harder than I might normally because I've only got those 4 notes to play, so I can't go back to my favourite licks and things that I know that I've played millions of times. I have to try and discover new ways and try and find new ways to make those 4 notes work. Now remember, when you do this, you want to take on board everything else I've talked about in this series. So you want your playing to be rhythmic, you can use repetition, leave some space, call and response, and anything else when you do an improvise. You don't want to bin all those good practices and just do these exercises, okay? The idea is that you apply all those ideas as you're working through these exercises. Now, that's the pocket soloing idea. You're basically finding a little pocket. It doesn't have to be 2 strings. I mean, it could just be 3 notes in the scale. It could be whatever you want. And you're really thoroughly exploring them. Now, I've just played it around on 1 course of a blues. I would encourage you to play for longer than that. Put on a whole blues backing track and see if you can really exhaust all the possibilities. If you do this, it really will pay off. So that's a pocket soloing exercise. I think you get the idea of that one. It's kind of inexhaustible. I mean, you can use this for the rest of your life as a guitar player, thoroughly exploring more and more different ideas within your scale patterns. So check it out. That's a pocket soloing exercise. Grab that backing track and get busy with that one. This next exercise is a great one for taking us right out of our comfort zone because we're going to ditch our scale patterns altogether and we're going to play along 1 string. Now, I've heard lots of great players and improvisers talk about doing this. Players like Scott Henderson, Steve Vai, John Abercrombie, a lot of great improvisers have used this because it's a whole different way of looking at the guitar. You're playing along it instead of across it. Now, this can really take you out of your comfort zone, like I say, but it's a really powerful exercise to work with. If you don't know any scale patterns going along the guitar, then you're going to be a bit stuck, but this is one you can keep and work on later on. I do know my G minor pentatonic scale all up the neck, so I'm going to work on just playing on the B string with this. And again, we want to keep our call and response, our repetition, our rhythm together, all these little touches. We don't want it to sound like we're doing an exercise, even though it probably will at first a bit. The idea is to learn how to use this approach to make music. So I'm going to jam on that 12-bar blues in G now, only using the B string. Let's see what happens. Again, having to work there a little bit to find melodic ideas because I can't resort to all my favourite, blues licks and whatnot. You've got to really think outside the box here, and it forces you to come up with new stuff. But of course, if you do this enough, you're going to start to come up with all sorts of cool ideas which do go along the strings, and it can bring a whole new dimension to your playing. Now let's take another example of that. Let's see what happens when I play on a rock ballad in this key of C sharp minor. So I'm going to change the key here. Just want you to see how you can use this in a different style as well as blues. I'm going to play over a ballad style backing track in the key of C sharp minor, and I'm going to restrict myself to the B string again. Let's see what happens then. Now this is pretty hard to try and keep things really melodic just on one string because we're just not used to playing like this. And again, this is the whole point. It forces you into new areas, new ways of thinking about the guitar, and you're going to uncover a lot of new material. Now, you can also do this on any string, of course. I'm going to try the G string now over that ballad track. Now that was definitely taking me outside my comfort zone a bit. Again, couldn't play all the favourite things I would normally play in that situation. You have to really try and, you're kind of trying to go over some unexplored ground, you know, and find new ideas. But this is a really powerful exercise. I think all the great improvisers have done this kind of thing. The people that don't become great improvisers are the people that always play it safe. They're afraid to explore new territory because they find it difficult. We can't take that kind of mindset with this. We have to keep pushing forward. So try that exercise. You know, do it in a comfortable setting in a familiar key to start with, and see if you can just start by finding your way around. And bit by bit, you'll begin to find that you can come up with better ideas, better melodies, more melodic playing ideas with that. And you'll discover a lot of new stuff you can use in your solos too. So try that one string soloing exercise. It's a really great one. And good luck with that. Now this next exercise is a great one for training your ear. This can really help you sort of develop the skill to hear melodic ideas that you want to play in your solos and just be able to play them right on the spot in your improvisations. This is taking you to a much higher level of sort of improvisational skill than just sort of relying on pre-memorized licks or any of this kind of stuff. So this might be a bit tricky at first, but I think you'll actually be surprised how easy it is once you get started. The basic idea here is to keep starting your phrase on the same note. And the reason for this is that as you do this, you're programming the sound of that note into your ear time and time again. And after you've played a few phrases on this, and you'll see what I mean in a minute, you're going to start to anticipate or predict what that note sounds like. So this is why it's such a good ear training exercise, because you're starting to relate the sound of that note in the scale, you know, to the sound of it when you use it in your solo. So it's a really great one. Let me demonstrate that for you now. So I'm going to put on my blues track now, and I'm going to start all my licks, all my phrases with this bend here at the 5th fret. So that's the sound that all my licks are going to begin with. And check out what I'm playing, and after a little while you're going to start to kind of predict what my lick sounds like when I start it, because I'm on the same note. And imagine if you did that on all the notes in your scale, which I'll demonstrate some others in a second. You're going to start to get a real good ear and good sound for that scale, and this is going to have a huge impact on how well you're going to be able to play using it. So let's check that out over the 12-bar blues. Can you hear it yet? It's ba 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 ba. Your ear starts to pick up on it. Here we go. So you can hopefully hear there how you start to anticipate what that note's going to sound like. Now, a really obvious example of this connection between our ear and our voice and our playing is when you hear like someone like George Benson do this thing where he plays his guitar and he's singing what he's playing, and you get this cool sound between his voice and his guitar, but he's managed to build this connection where he can hear ideas he wants to play in his head and actually play them on the guitar. And this can help you get somewhere near that level too, where your ear is in charge of what you're playing, rather than just your fingers. Now let's try this with a different example. So we'll stick with our 12-bar blues, but this time I'm going to use this top string note at the 3rd fret. So I'm going to try and start all my licks on that note, and this is going to program the sound of that note when I play it in a blues into my ears, so you'll hear what I mean. Here we go. Can you hear it yet? Ba 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 ba. So hopefully you were starting to get the sound of that note in my demonstration there. Now, again, like I said, if you do this to every note in the scale, it might seem like a massive task, but as your ear gets stronger and it improves, it's going to get easier to do this to each new note. You'll start to pick up the sound of it quicker. So that's definitely a great one to try. Let's try that over the ballad backing track now just for fun. So I'm going to go into the C sharp minor, and I'm going to start all my phrases with this note on the B string up at the 9th fret. Let's check that out. Hear it yet? Here it is. Ba 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 da, ba ba ba. Now this is a bit of an artificial way of playing, sure. I mean, I wouldn't go to a jam session or a gig with my band or something and play a whole solo starting on that note. It's an exercise. It's a way of developing skills which are going to help us become a better player. And I sometimes think that it's better to do that than it is just to resort to all your favourite licks and this kind of stuff. This is really building your skills when you practice in this way, rather than just doing a load of stuff which you already do. You know, we don't need to practice the stuff we can already do. It's about continuously moving forward. At least I think it is. You won't develop this skill overnight, but what you'll start to notice after a while is that you have a bit more of a natural feel about what to play. Your ear some sort of takes you over a bit and kind of guides you about what to play next. So definitely worth some time on this exercise. So there you go, they're those 3 exercises. Now, I don't want you to think that you're going to practice one of these for 5 minutes and it's going to make a huge difference to your playing. You know, it's a bit like going to the gym. You have to keep going back and working on the same exercises and things for a while before you see some real results. But gradually, if you do that, you get stronger and stronger. And if you do this kind of thing, you get better and better at improvising, stronger and stronger improvising. You'll feel more confident. You'll find you'll make less mistakes. You'll feel more in control of what you're playing. And you'll just become a more creative musician. So that's about it for me today. Thanks a lot for watching. I really hope you got some good value from this lesson. Remember to check out the previous guitar soloing school lessons. They're in the description below this video. And also check out my Noble Music Theory book and my Blues Soloing for Guitar books. If you like my lessons, you like my approach to playing guitar, they can really help you too. Other than that, thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next soloing school lesson, whatever that's going to be about. I haven't decided yet, but that'll be here in a couple of weeks. So I'll let you get away. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Good luck with these exercises, and I'll see you next time.